And the winner is Terry Colomer. Congratulations.
Oh, no, that was for the last one. For this one, it is Susan Langevin. We'll go ahead and email it to you, Susan.
All right. Congratulations, Susan. Okay, so moving forward to the retail panel, I'd like to introduce to you Tim Linden of Champ Publishing. And Tim does the publishing for the Fresh Digest and has for the past 30 years. And he also does publishing and editing for the California Avocado Commission and for the Western Growers Association. And he also does publications for the Organic Produce Network and for the Produce News. So now I'm going to turn it over to you, Tim. Welcome, Tim. I think you're on mute, Tim.
Emma is there. You go. Well, I'll start my introductions here, and maybe Emma can work on Paul's audio.
Yep, so we're just going to have Paul call in through the phone here, so hopefully everyone can see him and we can hear him here.
Okay, great. Well, we'll just get started here for a second on the introductions. For the next half hour or so, we are going to talk to 3 Southern California retailers who you are seeing on your screen and explore the experiences throughout the past year with the ever-present backdrop of the coronavirus. We're going to ask them about some of the major impacts of the coronavirus on sales. What are some of the learnings and the practices that are still going to be with us after this pandemic exits? We're also going to get involved in a little forecasting and get some predictions as to when in-person meetings will be on the agenda once again. So let's meet our panelists. Paul Diedzik is the Director of Produce for Bristol Farms. He started in the retail business as a box boy at his neighborhood Bel Air store in the 1980s. He quickly moved into produce and then moved up the ranks, becoming a produce manager and merchandiser for Raley's. At the end of the 90s, he and his wife and their 2 kids took a detour to Hawaii for a couple of years, where he worked on a coffee plantation and marketed the biggest new thing, dragon fruit. In the early 2000s, he rejoined Raley's, working in the warehouse and quality control. Next stop was a 4-year stint at Scolari's Food and Drug in Nevada, where he rose to the Director of Produce. He joined Whole Foods as a produce coordinator in 2015 and then moved to Bristol Farms in October of 2019 as the Director of Produce. Welcome, Paul. Next is Paige Venable, who was the floral director of the 52-store Vallarta supermarket chain. Paige launched her career in retailing in the floral department of a Marina Del Rey store. A Ralph store in Marina Del Rey. Though she claimed she was the wrong person for the job, the store manager saw her potential and hired her. Paige stayed with Ralph's for 7 years before moving to Whole Foods in 2006. She stayed with Whole Foods for a dozen years, progressing from store level to the headquarters and eventually assuming the top floral position in Southern California. In 2018, she took her 20 years of experience to Vallarta and has been reimagining that chain's floral presentation ever since. Our third panelist is Ryan Sanchez, the produce sales manager for Albertsons and Vons stores in Southern California. He started as a box boy in a Vons store in Eagle Rock in 1994, and 26 years later, he's still with the chain. He has extensive experience in both produce and floral. He rose to produce merchandiser during his first 15 years with Vons, and over the past decade, he was the floral merchandiser and then floral sales manager. So we have 2 floral people on our panel and 2 produce people in reality. A few days before the pandemic hit, Ryan moved into the produce sales manager role. Welcome, Ryan. So we do have Paul's audio on at this point?
Yes, we do. Paul, if
okay,
you want
great.
to go ahead. Yeah, we're going to do it.
So let's start off with our baseline question, all 3 panels. So the first question we're going to ask is, what has been the biggest impact of the coronavirus on the produce and floral departments in each of your store? We want you to talk about supply challenges and overall product demand, maybe what has sold exceptionally well and something that hasn't done so well. Paul, you want to start us off?
Sure. Bristol Farms, we had a really solid plan in place when this started. Mostly it was supply issues, so we went ahead and secured a lot of supply ahead of time, got it to the stores. As the time progressed, we sold a lot of different things, a lot of packaged items, a lot of potatoes, onions, garlic. I mean, we started selling things at a volume that we had experienced before. So we turned around and took a good look at easy to go, grab and go stuff. Definitely upped our production on our shops, and we just really tried to keep the stores full and ready to go, and had great success with more customers, less customers, and bigger purchases.
Paul, was there one specific item that might have surprised you how well it has sold over the last year?
Ginger and garlic have been unbelievable in all forms, whether jarred, packaged, fresh. I mean, the whole thing is crazy. We've added so many SKUs and sold them all very well. So that's been one that really surprised me. Anything, antioxidants or any item that seems to be a health benefit has really done well.
Excellent. Paige, why don't you answer the same questions for Vallarta and their floral department? You probably have to mute yourself in the bottom left-hand corner.
There we go, Paige.
Thank you. Couldn't unmute. For us, floral was really, we sort of went straight to a stop at the beginning of the pandemic. I was really building our program, and it really sort of folded overnight. I think in the midst of a pandemic, at the beginning, there was nobody that was interested in floral. And the industry as a whole really had a rough time. It was a real struggle, but then slowly over time, just before Mother's Day, everybody remembered that floral was important. And so, sales shot quickly right back up to the levels they were before. And then after Mother's Day, they absolutely went into what the entire industry had been experiencing in the beginning, which was these, elevated sales in food and stuff. So suddenly floral joined the ranks. And, as far as our big surprise item, it's been plants, house plants, and herbs, anything that you can get in the ground. I think people have really learned to enjoy the outdoors more, and there's been a lot of planting going on. And really, that has been our big winner. House plants, can't get enough of them.
Has there been any particular item that didn't do well?
Really, once everything picked back up, there really hasn't been a dead item. Obviously we reduced SKUs in the beginning, so it's really hard to tell, but we haven't had really any dogs.
Excellent. Ryan, over to you. You have a little bit different situation as you have over 300 stores. How was the same question, but how were the supply challenges for you? Mute.
All right, there we go. All right, so yeah, for us here, it was sort of like with Paul said, we had a solid plan to make sure we got enough product to get to our stores to keep them in stock. I'm working with our distribution center here, but during that time frame, we did have to work with other suppliers that we normally don't work with just to keep our stores in stock. And then when looking at a category level in store and what's done very well through the entire pandemic, organics have just gone off the charts for us. Organic veg and fruit, anything with immunity, vitamin C. So you're talking citrus, berries, even tomatoes. immunity shots. I mean, immunity shots are just off the charts right now, and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. Just, I think people are worried about wanting to stay healthy. So all of the immunity shots continue to do well for us. Potatoes, I'm sure Paul saw this too. Potatoes just off the charts. Like Paul said, garlic. You know, and I'll tell you one thing, Tim. One thing that shocked me was, you know, bag produce, grab and go, all that stuff did very well. And previously, prior to the pandemic, we hadn't carried any bag stone fruit. But we decided to get into the fun in June. We brought in some bagged peaches and nectarines just to see how they were going to do. And they did extremely well. They did so well in the first couple of weeks, we ended up keeping it for the entire season. So anything with in a bag, grab and go has done extremely well for our stores here.
And has that experience gone throughout the whole year? Is it, or is it changing at all?
No, it's still going on. And I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon, to be honest with you. I think it's going to continue on for the rest of this year and could be even possibly into 2022. But we'll all get smarter as we go, though.
Let's explore the advent, or not the advent, but the increase of online sales and maybe advent of curbside sales, curbside pickup, and third-party shopping such as Instacart. That changes the dynamic a little bit. They're trying to buy a little differently. How does that work? Paige, tell us about your experiences. Are these groups buying flowers, the ones that are shopping online?
You know, for us, Instacart is new for us at Vallarta. So, you know, it's sort of a new experience. You know, while I was at Whole Foods, Instacart was pretty big. There is not a huge amount of floral Instacart sales, but I think, you know, when you're talking about the newer shopper, the younger shopper, people who are more in tune with the way that the world is now, I mean, online shopping is just sort of a natural reaction. It's a natural extension of sort of the Amazon world. So, you know, we as an industry, I think, have been a little bit slow to embrace that, and I think that this really has pushed us over the edge into that. You know, as far as floral, we make sure that in our Instacart offerings, we're offering like the best of what we can offer, and that we can be sure that what they see is what they get. It's very different. Obviously, we all know we're in a perishable field, we're in a perishable industry, and each apple isn't going to look the same, and each rose isn't going to look the same. So we have to really make sure that what we're offering on these platforms is exactly what the customer is going to get. So that's kind of, like I said, you know, Vallarta is a little bit, you know, we're just literally coming on to this type of shopping, so it's new for us, but we're learning to adapt. You know, we're seasoned people, and we're learning how to kind of roll with this change.
Ryan, did online shopping, did that explode for Vons Albertsons?
Yeah, it did. I'll tell you, just like, you know, everything else, you know, did extremely well and blew up for us. But if there was one thing that has grown the most, it is our e-com business. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to stop. It's going to continue to grow. Obviously, when this pandemic is, you know, over, you know, yeah, more customers are going to go into stores, but they're still going to shop online. I mean, they're still going to get into e-com. I think even more so as we continue to move into the future, just because, you know, customers, you know, a lot of customers just didn't realize how easy it is. I think some people were intimidated by doing e-com and online shopping, but obviously through the pandemic, they were pretty much forced to try that. And with doing so, I think they realized how easy it is. And I think customers are going to continue to do that as we continue to move forward. So yes, I do think they will end up coming back to the stores, but they will as well as order online as they have been lately.
Paul, how about you? Does Bristol Farms have a robust online e-commerce program?
We sure do. Kind of like Paige, we were building it start of the year and really improving the atmosphere and the offerings. And we couldn't get it up there fast enough. It's almost like a whole nother store, top store for us in sales. We've really been amazed on our IMs. Guys have been busy just around the clock, adding items, making sure we're set with offerings, and the shoppers in the store is one of the most mind-boggling. You can be in the store at 7 a.m. and you could be surrounded by 12 people shopping, and you're like, wow, this is interesting for this neighborhood, and it's all Instacart shoppers grabbing stuff and out the door. And it's wonderful that we can have that environment due to the times that we're facing. So it's been a huge expansion for us, and I don't see it changing much. I think people are getting used to staying home more and cooking more and having that what I would call advantage of just having stuff delivered. But wow, what a mind-boggling, eye-opening event. It really has been.
And Paul, has that grown since the beginning of the pandemic, or did it get to a level, a high level, and just level off for the last 6, 7, 8, 9 months?
Repeat that question. Sorry, Tim.
Paul, has the online shopping continued to increase, or is it leveled off to a high level?
The online shopping, are you saying?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm getting half of it. It keeps going up. Every week is a higher sale, a higher turnout, and it hasn't slowed down at all. It's really made us consider our future and what we're going to do as far as being able to stay up with this demand and maybe have alternative sites to please the customer.
So you've all mentioned that the e-commerce shopping has increased, and it's a little bit different for produce. We know produce and floral are an impulse buy. People walk into the store without something on their list and they buy it. So how does that work? How does impulse buy work when you might have a shopper, an Instacart shopper? Once he's in the store, he's not going to buy something like that as somebody didn't order. And even these shoppers that are trying to get in the store out quickly and have a list. So what do you see? Is that how do you try to capture impulse buys through maybe your online presence or different displays? Ryan, why don't you start us off on this one?
Okay. So in regards to, it's all about merchandising, right? I mean, for these customers that are trying to get in and out of our store quickly, it goes back to Grocery 101. It's all about merchandising. Merchandising matters. It's just strategically, merchandising an impactful display in a high traffic area. I think it comes back to that. I don't think anybody does that better in the store than produce and floral. Obviously, with all of our colors and excitement, we just got to draw customers to our displays. But like I said, we got to be strategic in the way we do that. In regards to e-com and online, we just got to make sure we do our part and we have our images right online. And like Paige said earlier, if somebody is ordering something online, that's what they're getting, right? You don't want to see an image on the online catalog or the screen, whatever you want to call it, and when they receive their product, it's not exactly what they saw online. So we just got to do our part. And I guess that's how I think we can continue to get impulse sales for produce and floral.
Paul, you can go next. I suspect that a smaller chain like yours, a higher end chain, you really rely on impulse buys in the produce department. How has that been impacted?
We really do. Our foot traffic is down, so it's had to be impulse buying or a larger cart to get us through. And it's been interesting because, like you say, with an Instacart shopper, we don't have that ability to put other things in their basket. But we've really encouraged our teams to suggest other things because they can suggest back to the customer with a like item. So say we don't have a cello bag of lemons available, we'll offer something else close to that, maybe bag up 3 lemons for them and see if they'll buy that. So we've really encouraged our personnel to work with these folks in the stores. And the impulse buying is hard though. Like Ryan said, we have beautiful lobbies, floral and produce, and we really rely on people walking in to see our show and buy from that impulse. We're doing a huge tropical show right now where we got tons of tropical in the stores, and it's been really fun to do that. But with less customers, we really have to be right on with nice product and good pricing.
Paige, I think that impulse buying is even more important. And in floral, I don't know what percentage of your sales are impulse, but it's got to be a pretty high amount. What's happened to that at Vallarta?
Well, all of our sales are impulse sales with floral. I mean, a grocery store is not normally a destination for floral like we'd want to be, of course. But, as time goes on, you build that shopper. And we've really been building our business these last 3 years, really working on that. And so it was really rough when the pandemic hit. It was my boss jokingly said it's like we were building a little sandcastle on the shore and a wave came up and just knocked it all down. So, there were a lot of challenges, but yeah, I mean, what Ryan said, it just goes back to retailing 101. We still have shoppers in the stores. People are still shopping. So we need to make sure that we just go back to our A game, which is, really great signage, really great offerings, a lot of value for the customer, just all the ways that we've been selling floral before, to give something that's going to make the customer happy, that's going to give them longevity at home, that's of a great value. If it's not the best value, then it's the best product possible. So, it's just really that sort of rub between which way to merchandise what you're selling and how you're really giving it to them. But above all, it's really got to be the best value for the customer, just exactly what they want. Suggesting something that's going to make them happy 9 times out of 10 will get them to buy it and take it home. And if they get that happiness out of that item, they're going to come back. So, again, I second what Ryan said. It's retailing 101.
Paige, in an earlier interview, you told me that though your shoppers, your demographic, they tend to buy floral items for someone else rather than themselves, more than maybe in a Ralph's or a Bristol Farms. Maybe in that instance, they are coming into the store to buy floral. Have you seen that go up or down at all?
Sadly, yeah, there's a lot more funerals and there's a lot more events and there's a lot more things sort of that are taking place that are not always happy events, that are sometimes somber events, and again, it's about value. It's about giving them the item that really, that is going to convey the emotion that they're trying to convey. The floral industry is really all about emotion. That's what we're selling. We're selling happiness, or we're selling, love, or, that's really what we're sort of putting across. And so, like I said, initially our sales went down because I think everybody just went into shock, and there's not, as much face-to-face interaction. There's not, I'll tell you, our graduation business went away. Just like that. We weren't selling lace, but we certainly were selling, we were still selling bouquets and people were still giving items, but the corsage business went away. So, there's some of that stuff. It's all about evolving and changing with what's happening now. People were still giving items, but it was more likely to pick up an arrangement that they were going to leave on somebody's doorstep rather than to, be getting a bouquet that they wouldn't want to do that with. So, I mean, there's some evolution that happens with it. You really have to just, for me in my position, it's all about watching the data and see what's trending upwards and follow that trend and do all those things that are sort of more technical. But in the end, again, it comes down to the product. You have the right product and, and you're going to have the sales. So, we evolve, this is a change business and we're all in it. So.
Kim, can I add something to that real quick?
Sure.
Yeah, so I work with somebody here in the office and she mentioned to me that she never bought floral for herself prior to the pandemic, and now she does, and she does it every single weekend. So I think there's a lot of people out there that do that. She just said that it brings cheer to her house and to herself. So I think we do see more people buying floral for themselves than before.
I'm going to jump in too, Ryan. That's another thing. I think many times before the pandemic hit, when we gave flowers or when we were given flowers, we never enjoyed them. We were away from the house, we were at the job, we were whatever, and we never got to enjoy those floral. And so now when you buy flowers and you take them home, you get to see the evolution of the bloom life and, you know, the beauty and the smell and the sights of the flowers. And it really has changed things. I myself am in the industry and I do not often buy flowers for myself, and I do now. It is something that I do. So it really, I think it's really sort of changed the way that we look at that purchase and the way that we look at that gift, you know. And again, it has to be quality. You know, nobody wants to buy something. You buy something, you take it home, it dies the next day, you're not gonna repurchase. So it always comes back to that whole thing, highest quality purchases available to be able to give to our customers. You know, it always goes back to that key item. So.
Excellent. That dovetails into our next question is, what are some of the learnings from COVID-19? What are you taking away that is going to change forever, maybe in merchandising or more bags or anything like that that you can think of? Paul, why don't you go first?
Yeah, so I mean, some of our learnings have been really carrying SKUs that we never carried before, offering a lot of solo bags, quick grab and go items. People are not wanting to spend time in the store; they're in and out, and I think making it easier on them. So I mean, we do a lot of tote bagging ourselves with our own products. I got that from Whole Foods in my career, and they were already established at Bristol, but we're doing maybe 10, 20 times more individual totes. For example, we had a great lychee promotion a couple weeks ago, and a lot of the guys that weren't used to selling a lot of lychee, but we did a little small tote bag with it, and I mean, unreal. We did like 20 grand in lychee sales in a couple days, so it was pretty crazy. Just getting with the grab and go movement is a huge lesson for us. I think that always increases sales, gives you opportunities for quick grab and go items. And some of the other things I think we learned from this, maybe skew down on some of the SKUs that aren't as popular anymore. Maybe we're confining to top 100 items in our department and really concentrating on having those ready to go every day. And the online offerings, our marketing team is doing a great job with online and all the exposure of items, and they do a really high-end job with it. And we're getting a lot of customers coming in looking for items that are featured. So it's been a neat experience in learning, you know, what the customer wants now, what we should offer. And I think a lot of the chop and the chop shop stuff has been, you know, out the door too. So we really have to make our own guacamole and do all that stuff. We really have to stay on top of it and make sure it's all ready to go.
How about you, Paige? Is there anything you're going to take away from this and has changed forever your floral departments?
I think more than ever, you know, I think one of the lessons learned is, you know, that sort of 80-20 rule, you know, in floral, you know, you get sort of 80% of your sales from 20% of your items. And when the pandemic first hit, I really scaled down in each category. I just went to my top 5 movers, which meant, you know, overall, it meant that, you know, for all of my vendors, it meant they all got a PO, even though it was small. And for sort of the people, it meant that they could find their favorite items within the store. Now, maybe there wasn't, three planting cactus in a pail. You know, maybe there wasn't that, but there were all the top items were still available. And really, coming out of the pandemic, it really has me sort of scaled back to what really our core items are, you know, and being mindful about what I add into that mix. You know, sure, not everybody wants a dozen roses, but it still is a top seller. And so that's not going away anytime soon. So anything that I sort of add into this core mix has to be mindful, and it has to really be something that's going to be of an impact to the consumer and be of an impact to the company. You know, that's sort of a rule that I'm going to carry out. It's something that I've always known, but, you know, you get a little messy as time goes on and you want to have a little more offerings and a little more stuff. But, you know, really the pandemic sort of made me scale that back and sort of get back into my, my roots, you know, the roots of how we do business. And, you know, online shopping, the thing that I think is the most wonderful about the online shopping and the, you know, sort of Instacart offerings now is that, you know, people who were hesitant to start that really learn to do that. You know, grandmothers and grandfathers and people who were sort of outside of the, you know, of the growing up with computers really learned how to do this, and it stopped being scary for them. So that's something that's really going to endure. And I think that us as an industry, we're not going to see that. Not only are we not going to see that go away, we're going to see that trend upwards. So, so really going into that, it's really making sure that for me in the floral industry, that what I am doing is I'm adding things to that platform that are just the right thing at the right price, so I can get that sale. So that's really, those are the things that I think are really going to stay for me.
Paige, have you had an opportunity to compare February 14, 2020 sales with February 14, 2021 sales?
I have. Yeah, we did very well this year. You know, not only did we have a 94% sell-through, which is absolutely huge, we had a 40% increase year over year. I mean, that's just, it's just amazing that in the midst of the pandemic that people have sort of gone back to this thing. It's kind of like, you know, you forget how much that really makes somebody feel good to give them something like that. So. Yeah. So it's fantastic. It was a fantastic year. Fantastic year.
Ryan, how about you? What's the top learnings from COVID-19 that you are going to keep as you move forward past the pandemic, hopefully sooner than later?
Yeah, I'll touch on what Paul said. So going back to the bagged produce, having anything in bags, clamshells, grab and go, that will all continue to do well. Another thing is obviously with this whole social distancing and 6 feet apart, we're just going to be more mindful of how many shippers and displays we have on the sales floor. So it's a cleaner and easier shopping experience for the customers, easier to get in and out of the department and the store. So those are the things that we're going to be taking away as we continue to move forward.
I see. So let's talk about the suppliers that are out there watching this webinar. So this past year, you guys haven't had face-to-face meetings, or very few of them. Presentations via Zoom, I suppose. Are you going to go back to what you did before, or do you want the suppliers to interact with you in a different way? Let's see. Ryan, you can start on this one.
Yeah, I'll go back to face-to-face meetings yesterday if I can. Right? I mean, I think you can't replace that interaction when you're in person, the atmosphere in the room. You just can't replace that. I think as we move forward, yeah, we're going to have face-to-face meetings, but at the same time, I think now that we've all, over the past year, we've all done these video calls and Zoom and so forth, we know it's there. So if we need to have a quick meeting with somebody in another state or a grower in another country, we can get on a Zoom call and knock that out real quick. So I think we've learned that we can do that, and it's something that we can use to our advantage as we move forward. So yes, let's do face-to-face starting tomorrow.
Paul and Paige, do you agree with that? Anything to add to that?
Yes, I will say this, you know, I have vendors I've done business with for a very, very long time. I know their product in and out. And so through the pandemic, it's been really easy. They send me a photo and a price and I yes or no it. But, you know, nothing, I still need to have quarterly meetings with these people. I still need to, I'm so eager to get out to an expo or to, you know, to get it back into the community of the people who, you know, basically embraced me and raised me. You know, I mean, I'm really, really eager to get back to normal.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Ryan on that. You know, the meetings are priceless, face to face. The handshake, the personal touch of knowing your vendors or your suppliers is huge. And for me, I go a step farther, even on the local farms that we visit, those kind of tours, getting the guys from the stores out to meet some of these farmers and have that relationship straight to the store. has been a huge disappointment or loss for us. And in the store itself, I get a lot of support from vendors or personnel, and that's been a huge loss because we introduce a new product and we get some support from the vendor as far as coupons and stuff in the stores. And we don't do a ton of that at Bristol, but some of it's really important when you kick off a new item to make sure you got a little bit of back support. And I'll look forward to all that. And our sampling is huge for Bristol. Our chefs and our in-house sampling is part of our success, and that has been all a struggle. I think we've had a great year, but we could have even increased it by another 10, 20% with the sampling involved. So that's about all I have.
Great. So we're coming down. We only have a few more minutes, so I'm going to truncate some of these questions. So let's look down the road. Let's look down the retail road. Look out into the future. What do we see in the retail? What's the store going to look like? I think, Paul, when I talked to you earlier, and you guys have all talked about SKUs, maybe there's going to be fewer SKUs. Maybe there's going to be more. Bigger stores, smaller stores. What about hubs for e-commerce? Are all your e-commerce people going to go to one store? So let's each of you take a few minutes and talk about that. And Paul, we'll go right back to you.
Yeah, that'll be interesting as we move forward, because I think some of these things are here to stay. I definitely think that we have to adjust and make that reality for us. We have to have the hub where we supply the product and get it out faster, or make it easier for these Instacart shoppers. Maybe drive-through windows are going to occur in some of the stores, so they already are, but I think our stores, we don't have a lot of that yet. But you've seen pharmacy do it in a few years past. I think we might go to that too, where people don't have to get out of their car and don't have to go in all the time. People are getting used to that. I won't say they got lazy, but being home is nice. So even as a worker, we're allowed to have a few remote days a week, and it's been nice. I mean, you can find your rhythm and get stuff done at home and not have to, especially in LA and that commute and all those things that we do. But I think we'll have different size stores for sure. I think I talked to you about a smaller model that carries maybe the top 50 items in produce, and it's an in and out shop. It's going to be kind of a new format where some people don't like the big store, and then we'll still have the big store for variety and beauty and display, and floral lives on that display as much as produce. So we really need to have that store where you can walk in and see what you're buying or what's new. So that's not for me.
Excellent. Paige, what do you see?
Yeah, I said it before, this is a change business. I think that there's going to be a lot more of this drive-through shopping. I have ideas for our chain for next year to do sort of a drive-through model. I think that it's going to be all sorts. It's going to be a hybrid of sorts. I think that this hub idea is really, really good. People are able to purchase and then just drive up and get what they want. I like the drive-through idea. I like, the outdoor tents. I like all of that stuff, whatever the future brings. I think there's a lot of our industry that's going to stay the same just because that's just how it is. And there's a lot of the bigger chains that, are going to continue to trend towards being bigger and one-stop shopping. And some of the boutique chains are going to continue to be small and tight and scale down and be more of a, specialized shopping. But, in our industry, again, it changes all the time. It changes all the time. Conditions change, realities change, shopping patterns change. But for us, I think that we're going to see more towards this, no hassle shopping. But there's always going to be the customer that wants to come in. So like I said, a lot of it is just not going to change. So.
Ryan, what do you see for your chain?
Yeah, so in regards to my initial thought on our store is going to be smaller, bigger. My initial thought would be smaller, but I don't know. I think the buildings have to be bigger, but maybe the sales floor is a little smaller because they're going to have to designate a certain amount of space for a fulfillment center as its e-com business continues to grow. So that's really how I envision the stores looking at the future. The hubs are Paul and Paige said that's huge. I think that just makes it easier for everybody. I mean, to have a hub, it's obviously going to create less distraction inside of a store, so they can just go to the hub and not distract the stores or the employees in there. And then you mentioned something on SKU count. I can tell you, for us, we're not going to reduce SKU count, but that's always the nature of our business, right? We're always going to get out of something because we want to bring in some new items, innovative items. At the same time, the DC isn't getting any bigger. So in order for us to bring in some new items and try new things, we have to get out of some items, right? So that's just how I think our SKU count's going to go as we continue to move forward. But yeah, I mean, Paige said it. I mean, we're in the business that's ever changing, and we have to change with it, or we're going to be in trouble if we don't. So we just got to adapt. So yep, that's what I got.
Well, very good. We're moving up to the 1 o'clock hour, so we're going to have to let you guys go. That was a good time. I wish we had another half hour. And now we're going to throw it back to Don. Thank you, though, for your participation.
All right. Hey, thank you, Tim, for moderating today. And thank you, Paul, Ryan, and Paige, for all of your insight and for taking the time with us. Much appreciated. Before we end today, Emma, isn't it appropriate we give away another $100? So let's spin the wheel, and this one's sponsored by Torn and Glasser. So let's see who the winner is, Emma.
Susan Kavanaugh, I will reach out to you after the webinar is over and send you your gift card. Thank you.
All right, congratulations, Susan. Okay, everybody out there, thank you for attending today's event. We look forward to seeing you in person sometime soon. It's going to happen. We don't know when. But anyway, stay safe and have a great day, everybody, and thank you again.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.